Hello, it's me, Lynette, and this time I wanted to talk about care for Phalaenopsis who have a poor root system. So, the orchid which I'm showing you here is what I identified as Phalaenopsis Sogo Shito. And this is its bloom. It's a wonderful yellow. It's really golden. The lighting right now in the winter is not the best, and it's a bit hard to focus with a single hand, but I hope you can see it. Yeah, this is more like it. It's a wonderful golden yellow. It opened up more lime yellow, but it turned this wonderful color. This is basically a hybrid between Phalaenopsis amabilis and Phalaenopsis amboinensis. That's the strongest influence it has from this species. And this orchid has a wonderful sugary lemon fragrance. It's a fragrant Phalaenopsis, and the fragrance isn't poor, it's quite notable. But of course, the more blooms you have, the stronger the fragrance, and the more sunlight you have, the stronger the fragrance. So right now it doesn't smell very strong, it smells more like some pepper. But it's a wonderful, enjoyable fragrance. Very Christmassy, I would say. So as you can see, it has a single bloom and a single flower bud coming on from the newest spike. I purchased this orchid about a year ago at Christmas for my mother. But I'm the one who takes care of all the orchids. So you can see something strange happening with roots. Yeah? I purchased this orchid. It created a very strong, very vigorous root system. Yeah? But in the autumn of 2018, its roots basically all rotted away. As you can see in the previous video where I reported this orchid, I will link it in the description. In its original pot, it had a sphagnum moss plug, and it rotted all the old roots in the pot off. So right now this orchid has two little roots in the pot and a lot of aerial roots, and it had strong problems with the dehydrating. You can see the leaves aren't very happy, but they're doing far better than they did previously. You can see signs of desiccation, but this is a very good improvement from what it had when I just detected the problem. So what I did to help this orchid, there are multiple ways to do this. You can research how other people do it. There's plenty of information on YouTube how to save downhill going Phalaenopsis, but this is how I chose to do it. I tied with some string New Zealand sphagnum moss around its largest area roots, and what this does, the moss stays wet for a little bit of a while after you spray it with water, so that allows the plant to get some water in its system. You could also convert it into water culture, leave it in a glass vase for like half an hour every day. That will also be helpful, but this is how I choose to do it personally, because I like to grow my orchids in pots with organic medium. That's how I prefer to do it. So, this is my weapon. It's a simple spray bottle, and I spray the orchid, the roots like that. So yeah, you can see the moss is turning darker and the roots are turning green. This will hydrate the orchid and help it survive. If you put some fertilizer on it to help the orchid, do it in low quantities, because you might burn the roots if it's too high. But it needs some fertilizer. Right now in the winter it's not creating any roots, it's not actively growing, but in the spring, when the warmer temperatures and the sunlight comes out again, it's gonna take off, and I hope it's gonna turn into a robust plant again. But also, when you spray the roots, they dry out quickly. So what I do to counter it is take a alcohol shot glass You heard it right. I fill it halfway with water and plop this largest root this deep into it in water. So it's basically water culture, really. And I leave it there for half of the day. And this root constantly stays hydrated and, keeps my plant alive. About blooms. It's not a good idea to keep blooms on orchids which are stressed and are in the mode of recovering. The buds on this extended older spike all blasted off. They didn't die off, I took them off, and they were all limp because they didn't have enough water. Yeah. But I left this one because a single bloom can hurt, can it? And it's able to sustain it, and I'm happy for it. If it wants to do it and it feels like it's capable of doing it, I'll allow it to do it. But the bloom size is not as big as it was when I got it originally. This is far from the potential of the actual orchid. And on the newest spike, it's creating precisely another new bud. But I think I can keep it well hydrated enough for, it to not significantly hurt the plant. But I would suggest snipping the buds off. What I wouldn't suggest you to do is cutting the flower spikes off. The flower spikes themselves, like this one, which never created any blooms, and it originally wanted to be a keiki, as you can see by these leaflets. But if the flower spike doesn't have any blooms on it, it will not take up water. It's not able to use that water, it just won't. And I have heard, I don't remember the name of the grower right now. He's a really, really good fertilizer expert. But what he said is that Phalaenopsis store a lot of minerals in their flower spikes. So if you're taking them off, you're hurting the orchid's mineral reserves, basically speaking. So yeah, how about that? Basically speaking, if it doesn't have any new growth to put its water in, it won't take up water. So feel free to leave on the old flower spikes, just take off the buds. It's as simple as that. Seems a bit counterintuitive, but you know and I know that we grow orchids for their flowers. So what's the point of taking off the flower spikes if they can branch further on? They're not sabotaging the orchid by just standing there. They don't have leaves. Those leaves aren't taking up much water. When your Phalaenopsis are stressed, you might notice they are dropping their leaves. That's because they don't have the roots to sustain leaves. So having less leaves increases its chances of survival because it doesn't have so many structures to put water into. It's pure logics, honestly. Well, you should think about things well. But, the first step to doing that is, of course, understanding how plants work. And that's a bit tedious business.